My question is, what is justice? If I kill someone by recklessness, justice demands that I pay a price for that. Not because I wanted to kill them, but because I should have done more to ensure that I didn't. Society needs to know that there are consequences for not paying enough attention when doing something potentially dangerous. And the families left behind, they need to know that society cares enough about their loss to hold those responsible to account. If a 19-year-old riding a motorcycle is killed by someone driving on the wrong side of the road, it's just not good enough to claim diplomatic immunity for someone who's not even a diplomat. Diplomatic immunity is there to prevent injustices, where a state sees diplomats on trumped-up charges. It's not there to create them. There is zero diplomatic benefit to ensuring that families of American diplomats can kill Brits without consequence. Anne Sacoolas needs to be sent back to the UK to face justice and face the parents.
OK, so I completely understand and sympathise with Harry Dunn's mum and dad, Charlotte and Tim. I understand that they need to know about what happened that day. Not want to know, need to know. They will not be able to move on. They're decent people whose lives have just been torn apart. However, and don't savage me for this, I want everyone around this table to think about this. If this happened to you, if you had done this, and you had diplomatic immunity, and you had 3 children of your own, would you leave those 3 children to come back to this country and potentially go to jail for a number of years? I think very few people would, and it's true, people should be accountable for doing wrong. You know, I don't know Anne Sacoolas, I don't know her, but I suspect she's a decent woman who did a terrible thing. And for her to come back to this country means that her own family is going to be torn apart. I know that doesn't help Tim and Charlotte. I know it doesn't. And nothing's going to bring back their son. But there's part of me that understands, and I'm just wondering how many people out there, how many people watching this show would actually do the, quote, right thing and come back and put themselves up to be sent to prison for the next however many years and leaving their family. So I just wonder.
I hear what you're saying, but you're talking from her perspective, the idea of she doesn't want to leave behind her kids who she cares about more than anything else. I understand that as a concept. However, in the criminal justice system, we do not base justice on whether or not the criminal is willing to face prosecution, alleged criminal.
Exactly. Well, that is the point, of course. And, you know, the thing is, you know that originally the diplomatic immunity laws were intended to prevent embassy staff being harassed when they were working in hostile countries. But it is a law that has been abused. We know in this country people have escaped prosecution, people who've been accused of rape, people who've been accused of human trafficking, people who've been accused of drunk driving. There are hundreds of thousands of parking tickets that they don't pay. And yes, if you're living in a foreign land, you should follow the laws of that land. All I'm saying to you is, you know, there's a part of me that understands, and I'm not saying sympathises with Anne Sacoolas, but there's a part of me that understands why she has run away, that's literally what she's done, to protect her family.
And the thing is, diplomatic immunity doesn't just apply to the diplomat, it applies to their families. Yeah. So, literally, within the law, she's operating within the law. However, I think her position is indefensible. I think as a mum, because she's a mum, Carol, she should never have fled the country. She talked to the police. She gave no indication she was going to leave the country. She's bolted. She's a fugitive from justice, so we assume she must be guilty. And you know, and I don't think this is a banana republic. The chances are there wouldn't have been a custodial sentence anyway,
well,
because this would have been an accident.
Would you
this
take
is an accident. This is an accident.
Let me just ask Rachel the question. You've got kids. Would you be conflicted about this?
I didn't know that her position was I can't leave my children and I'm now in the US, and I don't think that's a valid defence. I think that the only cover she has is the one she's using and the one that the US State Department is maintaining, which let's just hear for what the US State Department is saying about the mother who managed to kill by accident or allegedly a 19-year-old. Any questions regarding a waiver of immunity with regard to our diplomats and their family members overseas in a case like this receives intense attention at senior levels and are considered carefully given the global impact such decisions carry. Immunity is rarely waived. That's the US State Department.
I just need to come back. You know, you said, just to clarify, that wasn't Anne Sacoolas' position.
Ah, well, you then attributed that position to her.
No, I didn't. I said, imagine this. Imagine what would you do? But it's definitely not her position.
I think you're wrong on the law. I think if she did what it's suggested she did. She drove down the wrong side of the road.
It's a terrible accident.
Which we've all done in our times overseas. But she drove down and there was an accident and somebody died. I think she probably would go to jail.
Well, maybe it's a suspended sentence.
Can I raise something, which is that is it possible that, I mean, Carol mentioned the parking tickets. There is a sense that if you are over here with diplomatic immunity,
you do what you like.
you're sort of licensed to behave badly.
It is.
And there is that problem with it.
That's why maybe this case should be the time where we reset the diplomatic immunity.
I agree with you,
Think
Carol.
about Julian Assange. He camped in the Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years under diplomatic
Let's just answer all
immunity.
a quick question. Does anyone think she's going to come back?
No.
Well, and I think
that's
if
my
the
point.
special relationship counts for anything, Boris should get on the phone to his mate Donald Trump and say, get her back.
Think about
Realistically, listen, let's look at we're talking about Anne
said
Sacoolas. Let's look at the human cost here. Let's listen to what Harry Dunn's mother, Charlotte Charles, says.
We're just utterly shocked and appalled that somebody is allowed to get on a plane and go home and avoid our justice system.
You're handling this with such grace and dignity and bravery, and what you want from Anne Sacoolas is answers, not necessarily punishment.
No.
Not necessarily punishment at all. We just don't understand from one human to another and one mum to another how you could just get on a plane and leave behind the devastation that she has without even speaking to us or facing us or an apology of any kind.
You hear that, and your heart breaks. I mean, her life is broken. It may never, ever be fixed. And yes, the sensible part of me says she should come back. But, she says not necessarily punishment. Maybe but she can't dictate that, sadly. It would be the police who decided that. But maybe, I just have this thing in my head that maybe the two of them should meet somewhere. I don't know. On neutral ground where they can talk.
That is what they're asking for. And this morning, Donald Trump was speaking about this issue. And he did sort of hint towards the idea of setting up something like that. Yeah. But at the same time, he also said in relation to driving on the wrong side of the road, it happens.
But Femi, we just said it does. It's not a deliberate thing. None of us who've done it did it deliberately. You don't set out to drive out on the wrong side of the road. It was an accident.
But the law now says if you kill somebody in an accident, you are and you are at fault. You are likely to go to jail in this country. That's how they changed the law in recent years. And I'm not at all sure that makes sense, personally.
Well,
nothing would be served by sending Anne Sacoolas to jail. Nothing would be served.
I sort of agree with that. I mean, you'd be much better to give a community service or something. I mean, this woman will be torn asunder with what she's done.
She will
but
be
not
guilty
torn
every day
asunder
of her
enough
life.
to face the music.
Let me bring
she should.
Of her kids,
because
maybe.
of her kids. Well, they've got a dad.
Let me bring in an important point. The American embassy said that one of the things we need to consider the global implications of what a serious sentence would do. What kind of global implications would it have if we set a precedent whereby American citizens can kill Brits without consequence? That would be incredibly dangerous if diplomats are given complete license by allowing this to go without any consequence at all. No meeting, no community service, no nothing. That would set a horrible precedent.